Hey everybody, it's Derek again here in Hammock headquarters. This time we're going to look at the Warbonnet Ridgerunner bridge hammock. This is the last of the 3 bridge hammocks that I've been reviewing for my upcoming book. And I want to show you a couple close-up details of this hammock before we take it outside and set it up for you. First of all, this is the main package. You got the spreader bar poles and the hammock. And really what comes off to me, the first thing, is the attention to detail. First of all, the stuff sack. I'm a big fan. If you know anything about me, I love double-sided stuff sacks because for a hammock, it just makes setup and takedown so much easier. Take a look at the stuff sack. Nice reinforced edge, a little grommet here. Not something that's required for a stuff sack. It certainly doesn't, it's not any more functional. It maybe has a little more durability. Take a look at the suspension. Really interesting here how Brandon's put this together. A lot of unique and specialized hardware for the suspension. This is the triangle suspension. All of the material, you'll notice probably right off the bat, is very lightweight material. This is a ripstop nylon. Brandon talks about it being water repellent. All of the suspension, for example, is lightweight AM steel, aluminum hardware pieces. But you'll notice here, even on this buried continuous loop, Brandon has put a little shrink wrap just to tighten up the edges, make it have that professional appearance. Even down to, this is another piece that I really thought was interesting, this mitten hook. It's sometimes hard to find just the right hardware, and in this case, Brandon has clipped off the end loop of this mitten hook. This is the pole attachment where the spreader bars go. You can see on one end it attaches to, this is a 1/2 inch webbing, and the webbing is an important reinforcement for all bridge hammocks. It goes around the long edge of the hammock to reinforce that edge because there's a lot of tensile forces on that edge, and this is where the poles stick. Spreader bars, you've got a head end and a foot end. Unfortunately, they're not marked, so it takes a little bit of getting to know your poles to understand how it goes together. When you, if you line them all up, so I'll kind of even them out here. It's like picking straws. You'll notice that there are, here we go, 2 longer and 2 shorter. So these 2 longer poles are for the head end, and the 2 shorter go to the foot end. And the longer poles also work with this connector pole. It's a 4-inch connector, and when they all go together, that forms the head pole. You can see, again, there may be limitations in manufacturing. I don't see why this is the piece that I've always been worried about losing. And I thought, well, shoot, I wish it could have been designed where that was just part of the pole, because it doesn't really add much to the overall length. You can see there's probably 2 inches there when those poles are lined up, so they're not saving a lot of length by taking this off, or even maybe having some shock cord to keep these poles together, so it makes it really easy to match them up or somehow mark them. So because there's no stuff sack for these poles, I've resorted to using some thick rubber bands, and then I make sure that I pack the poles inside my backpack as opposed to on the outside where maybe I would normally, just for ease of access. These are 1-inch webbing straps that are 12 feet long a piece, so 24 feet of webbing strap right here. So let's go outside and we'll show you how this is put together. All right, we're out here going to set up the Warbonnet Ridgerunner, and we've got a span here that's about 20 feet, maybe 19 feet, but 20 feet at least from the opposite side of the tree. So we're going to show how this goes up. Alright, I've set up the Warbonnet Ridgerunner hammock out here, and I've got a nice kind of a sit point for me. One thing you'll notice is the bridge style hammocks have a catenary curve on the edges, so it creates kind of this bucket seat effect. Excuse me. Let me show you what it looks like when you take out the spreader bars and how low this hammock is actually pitched to the ground. Here on the head end, which is the longest spreader bar here, and on the foot end, you can see how low you have to pitch this hammock. And that's because the spreader bars effectively raise that hammock. But when you pitch the hammock, it's a lot different than a regular gathered end hammock. You can see right here where the suspension ends. If I was to pitch this at its closest point, from the triangle to triangle points is just shy of 13 feet. Because there's no ridge line, you know, that's variable. So 154, 156 inches, depending on how tight you pitch it. So the minimum distance here is, you know, maybe 15 feet at its minimum. But you can see, if I were to hang it right here, we're close to maybe 4 feet, 3.5, 4.5 feet. So not your typical height for a hammock. It's actually quite a bit lower. And that's for both ends of the hammock. But once you put the spreader bars in, it raises the hammock up to where you need it to be. You can see the saddlebags on the sides, and as I mentioned in my review, the saddlebags add a functional component to the Ridgerunner because the gusseting provides a strain relief for the bug netting. So instead of having the bug netting sewn onto that catenary curve where there's a lot of tension, you can see there's a lot of flexibility here with that storage sack. So it's a nice, ingenious design by Brandon. Really like it. Relieves that strain. And you can zipper this bug net all the way off. You can gather it up. There's a little pocket right here in the back on the foot end with some ties. So you can tie up that bug net if you don't need it and put it out of the way. It does have that double, this one, the one that I have anyway, has the double-sided bottom. So you can put a pad sleeve in there for insulation. But any underquilt works great with this hammock. Kind of loosen up the head and foot end shock cord, wrap it underneath, put it around the spreader bars, and it works like a charm. So check it out, Warbonnet Ridgerunner hammock.